on to the other kind of thing I wanted to talk about, which is something that people might not know as much about, which is the difference. Then we've said it earlier
Mm.
between kind of gender identity and sexual identity. Now, we've talked obviously about your experience as a trans woman scientist, but we also can talk about the difference between having to come out as trans and come out as, well, not straight.
Yeah.
And that goes to something Henry and I talked about last week, about the kind of repetitiveness of choosing how to come out, who to come out to, in professional and academic conversations, because you meet so many people. Where does this come up in conversation, and when's the right time, and is there a right time to say it? So, I mean, it's an interesting thing because the two are so entwined in many ways.
Yeah.
I think the first thing that maybe to identify is the difference between how we identify. So I tend to use the word bi, and
Yeah.
you've mentioned to me you tend to use the word pan,
Yeah.
which sound like two very different things, and I think most people will think that they are. But actually, I almost think that they're the same. We're almost saying the same thing in a different way. So maybe that's something that's worth explaining a little bit for people as well.
Yeah, and that's a complicated one. So this
It
is another
is.
thing,
It
especially
is.
especially when you're working with students and young people. Everyone
Yeah.
will have their own definition of these words.
And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But I think totally top level. Um,
for me being pansexual, I mean, I honestly see it as I don't really care who people are, what their gender is. I'm just like, do I like this person? And I'm open to trying to
yeah.
find out whether I have a connection.
Yeah.
Um, and you're right, bi and pan are very similar. I guess a lot of people would say that they're not the same because bi is specifically saying you're attracted to two genders, whereas I'm just like,
Yeah.
whatever, just
And
people.
it's interesting because that's something I've toyed with personally, because since I came out in my early 20s, I've used the word bi purely out of laziness because I know more people understand it.
Yeah,
If I say that, people will get it. For the most part, they will know what that is. But at the same time, it does feel a little bit, you know, non-inclusive of non-binary genders, or
yeah,
and I think I did hear someone explain a few years back, actually, something that kind of clicked in my brain, was that it's your own gender and others. That's the binary, as
yeah,
opposed to male and female. But I think pan
yeah,
is a better word to describe what you defined it as than bi, but I think less people know what it means, which is maybe why I veer towards bi
yeah.
personally. It's interesting.
It's an interesting one. And the truth is that like even our definitions of the words have changed over the
Hugely.
years and things like that. And like I say, each person has their own different version. There'll be other people that are pansexual will give you a very different, give you a very clear. For
Yeah.
me, it's just like I'm attracted to people sometimes.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, it's I think that yeah, I don't know. We didn't have that awareness. It's like because even myself as a trans person for a long time, I still saw binary gender.
Yeah.
I didn't think about non-binary identities because that's not who I am. I didn't think about
Yeah.
agender people. It's just it wasn't who I was. So
Yeah.
for me, I didn't understand why you needed pan really. And
That's true. And a lot of it is, and I've spoken to other people about this as well, it's you latch onto the first word you hear that you identify with.
yeah, yeah,
And at that point, I hadn't heard the word pan probably until maybe even the last 5, 6 years. Um, so that's why I attached to bi. But it's interesting, the differences between the two. But I think, yeah, a lot of people who aren't part of that, LGBTQ community will hear these terms and not necessarily,
mm,
know exactly what we're referring to. I think it's quite important to, educate
yeah.
in that sense. Just make sure people, know what bit of the acronym means what.
When
Um,
especially when I'm talking with people who work with young people, I'm like,
yeah.
look, you're not going to know the alphabet stew that is
Yeah.
LGBTIPAQQIA. You're just not going to know it. And especially if you're working with people, ask how someone identifies. Don't say, are you gay or bi? Or just
Yeah.
like, how do you identify? And then, a good follow up question is, what does that mean to you? Of course, that's only if you need to know that information. Don't just be doing that to
Yeah.
anyone that you meet. But, it's all
Absolutely.
about how do you identify and then what does that mean to you? And I
Yeah.
think that's so
Yeah.
much easier than, I don't remember what half the definitions are, and I
Oh,
don't think I know the
no,
differences between an awful lot of terms that
no,
I know are
exactly.
fairly common,
I'm
and
the
words
same.
will come and go.
Oh, exactly, exactly.